Welcome to Open Tabs, our twice weekly Substack Live, where we talk about the stories taking up spaces in our tabs, our feeds, and our braids. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Emma.
Hello.
Good morning. Afternoon.
Yeah. Afternoon, 6 minutes into afternoon for the East Coasters. Okay, dive straight into it. I am obsessed with this Vogue Business article about the meaning of consent in the age of content. I feel like we've been talking a lot about, Megan, what is the word? The panopticon that we're living in now that we have meta glasses and everyone's a content creator. And this was about the growing backlash against content creators filming in public specifically. This means like workout classes. I mean, my like Pilates studio that I went to had to ban phones. So now when you step in, you have to put your like no phones are allowed out in the open beyond the entrance because people were filming content in classes and that's like not a place. Like you're sweaty, you're not wearing makeup, you're flailing around. You do not want to be in the background of somebody else's video and then be scrolling TikTok and see yourself like that. Um, and yeah, about how the creator economy is growing so fast and the uncomfortability with that. So a few weeks ago, we talked about the Nantucket no influencer sign. We've talked about like nobody wants to see your Birkin, the backlash against like the ultra luxury content now that the economy is so bad. And I feel like this is just what it's all really about, which is consent and where the lines are. And I wanted to get your all's thoughts.
Well, first off, I have like so many thoughts and reactions, but what was sort of like the takeaway on the article, Em? Like, were there any points? Like was it an opinion or was it sort of just like an analysis? What was your
More of an analysis. So this was Vogue Business. And if you are interested in like culture, they're one of my favorite publications.
I love that. Okay, Vogue Business.
Yeah, Vogue Business like writes really interesting pieces.
We have
but
a really good contributor for you, Vogue Business. Her name is Megan Collins.
Thanks.
and they basically like pulled all the threads that are happening right now, like the no influencer sign, the meta glasses, the workout classes, people filming man on the street content everywhere, and have kind of distilled it into the overall theme of consent and people feeling. I think like the Nantucket store owner said it really well. Like we feel like people don't want to feel like background actors in somebody else's video.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this recently when it comes to, I'm sure Emma, you saw Acquired Styles wedding over the weekend. So Melissa, for the less online, and Melissa, this is a influencer who's super popular on TikTok. Her name is Bridget Filong, and she's a twin. She has a sister named Danielle Filong, and Bridget goes by Acquired Style, and it was her wedding weekend, and she's like friends with all the New York influencer girlies, so they were all there, and so everyone was really excited to see like what this wedding would look like. And somebody leaked a picture, like someone who was just like in the vicinity took a picture like far away and posted it online, and then like everybody's reaching out to this girl saying like, "Hey, Danielle wanted to be the first to share images from her wedding, and can you take this down?" Like, and it was weird because they weren't like yelling at the girl. Obviously, they needed something from her, but it was very much like, it's not bad that you did this. It's just bad that you did this before Danielle got to. So, like, she gets to go. It was like kind of like this consent of like who gets the exclusive that was happening. And people were pretty much on like Danielle's side of like, yeah, she should get to post her wedding first. So I feel like in this age of content, it's like everybody has different like goals of like how much they want to share of themselves, and it's like more like who gets to control your brand narrative through content, you know?
I have a question on that story, actually. So is the person who posted it, were they a wedding guest or were they just like out?
There were two stories because she's a New York influencer. So I get it.
So the girl posting it has a following.
No, I think there was one person who's just like a Rhode Islander. It took place in Newport.
That's like the one I saw. Yeah.
So
to
it
be
was like just like somebody who was like at the hotel but not a wedding
yeah.
guest.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was another story though, where one of her good friends, who is also like a micro influencer, sent somebody else pictures from the wedding and then they posted them and they basically were like, so Bridget and her sister, the twins, have a clothing brand, Fifi, and the twin sister who didn't get married reached out to this girl and was like, can you please take these photos down? And these were sent to her from a guest, so it was like up close of her dress, her walking down the aisle. It was like more intimate personal photos. And she said, this girl who posted them was like, if you send me clothing from your brand, I'll take them down. And she did. They sent her clothing.
And they did it.
This like blackmail for free influencer clothing.
Extortion.
Extortion. Here's what I'll just say. I have a couple thoughts because obviously, like, I think these are two specific different circumstances. Like, I think that if you are a guest at a wedding in today's day and age, it's hard. Here's what I'll say. I feel like depending on who the bride and groom are, I mean, I just think it's like not, it's like passe to post like photos, especially of the bride, because there's always like this reveal or whatever. Um, it's a little bit passe to post photos of the bride before she's able to share herself or the couple like share themselves. I think that know thy audience though. Like I have friends who could have cared less. Like, and I would say probably the majority of my circles would probably not care. But I do think that especially if the bride is an influencer and that's how she makes money and that's her job, it really should be like wait until she posts 100% if you're a guest. If you are out in the wild. Now, the problem with this is that clearly this person, even if they're not an influencer, knew enough of who Acquired Style is to then post that and to do it in a timely way that it would infuriate people. So that seems problematic to me. I think it's sort of weird in general to take pictures of somebody's wedding that you don't know and post it unless there's like a really, really specific reason. Like, oh my God, look at this backdrop or like whatever. Like it just, I feel like there should be, in my opinion, like a purpose to it. But also in the same vein, like, and maybe this is where the lines get really blurry, but like if there was a celebrity wedding and you saw, you know, like George Clooney getting married, then I kind of think it's like you're allowed, like they have a public persona. So maybe that's where the lines get sort of blurred here. I just think that and then that to me is more of like a privacy thing. Like it's not a new thing to be like, I have a private, look at what Taylor Swift has done to make sure that she has control over the aesthetic and like, it's no joke. It's a real thing. So I kind of think it's like, if you are having a wedding and you want to have control over it, you have to be really intentional. And if they happen to be in a public space, then it's kind of like on them. All right. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah. I also think there is an issue in addition to that with people and just like not having good boundaries. Like one of my pet peeves is when people are in public and they'll record someone and then be like, find them. And it's like you were in their vicinity. Like you could have gone up to them and been like, hey, like you found them already. Why would you like put this person on the internet, ask the internet to find them, and then think that that's like somehow more acceptable than going up to someone in person and talking to them? I think that's like very strange behavior that's been so normalized online.
That is also a very big pet peeve of mine. I really, really can't stand it. And that's what makes it feels like I'm a big George Orwell fan. It feels like Big Brother is watching you and you have to police yourself constantly. I mean, beyond just like societal norms of behaving as an adult in public. I think of like the like cheating videos where people be like on a plane and be like, the guy next to me was texting his mistress. Here's a video of him texting her. He's blah 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 and was flying from blah 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 the state. Find his wife. It's like so bizarre to me. And I think last week, like the lawyers in Central Park, I
Yeah.
think like social media is like completely blurred the lines. Like it's not like the surveillance culture has always been a thing with paparazzi. And like once you reach a certain level of public persona and fame, it's like expected. Um, but now I feel like social media, one of the like the bad things about like social media democratizing fame is now like anybody
Yeah, there's audiences everywhere.
yeah, there's an audience for everyone doing anything out in public. And yeah, I think it's like why Gen Z is so self-conscious and they have the whole like Gen Z doesn't dance anymore because they don't want to get filmed.
Yeah. I mean, I think to your point, like, you know, everything new, old is new again, kind of like, I mean, having worked in production for, TV news for many years, there are like standards for all of this. Like you have to get media releases. You have to ask people. They have to sign off on their likeness and their image. And for kids, you have to get like parental consent if you are going to have them in your content. And I do think we're in this weird moment right now where, to your point, it feels like there's even more content creators than ever, and they are like the industry has evolved as such that it really is kind of a more legitimate career every year. Like,
Mhm.
take it for what you will, but there are like college majors now where you can like major in influencing. You can like there's real money in industry. And again, I always talk about this like because I this is big thing that I'm kind of going through right now with Swell at the Swell Club, and how sort of interesting because like so much of why Jenny, Carly, and I were like, let's do this is because of our community and like whatnot. And it is interesting. Like I find myself just again because of my background feeling very like, okay, like just because we're all going golfing today with friends doesn't mean that they want to be in this or they want to be a part of it. Like it is like, or like, do they want to align themselves with it? And it's kind of a weird thing. Like we also have, I have some good friends who are influencers, and like, I don't want to call out names, but like friends of theirs have said like, sometimes it feels like we go over to dinner to so-and-so's house and it feels like I'm like in a movie or show because the whole thing is being captured for content. And I think it's a very weird, like parasocial, I don't know how you would describe it, but it's like, or on the flip side, I feel like, I don't know if you guys do this, but like I have friends who like plan out full trips now for like what it will look like on their Instagram. Like it's disturbing. Like it's like, I'm going to go do this because this is like, and you're like, are you living a real life or are you just project? I don't know. It's really weird. I don't know.
How? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of coming to a head right now, discourse
Well,
wise.
it's bad when New York City workout classes get pissed.
I know. And like, I, yeah, it's, I don't think I said since we've been on, but my Pilates studio had to ban phones because there was a problem of people filming in classes. And we were in the background of their videos. And it was really uncomfortable and really unpleasant. And yeah, it was like such a problem that the studio had to ban phones, and you will get scolded if you have a phone out and they see it. So yeah, I think
I
it's
think
like,
that also, I was going to say, I think I saw a bunch of content around that specifically with Tracy Anderson's studio. Like, I think,
yeah,
um, that was like a really big specific call out because so much, I mean, and it's weird because I feel like with that one in particular, it's so creator driven. I don't know.
Yeah,
I almost
Tracy
think that
Anderson is like in with the New York City influencer girls, big time.
Oh yeah.
I I almost have been thinking about it like it's gonna be like smoking, where restaurants used to have like smoking sections, non-smoking sections. And I feel like that or like there's like certain places where you can smoke, certain places where you can't. And I feel like everyone's gonna just like decide on their relationship with like being on the internet. And then they're gonna want more clear like distinction of like where is this acceptable to just be filming and where is it not, you know? And so if you like I feel like Tracy Anderson should have like no phone classes where it's like if
Mhm.
you really don't want to be filmed, this is the class for you. But like so it's like I don't think there's going to be a one size fits all approach just because social media is so embedded into our lifestyles. But I do think that there's a movement away from wanting to be like people want to opt out at the Panopticon as much as they can, you know?
Yeah, I think I hadn't made
I
that
am
like
screaming, Megan. That is like we gotta quote graph that.
yeah,
Quote
that
graph.
so true. And I think you see that already happening with like no phone concerts that some artists are having. And I know like clubs in New York City at least will have like no phone nights where like they'll take your phone camera or like similar to my Pilates class, if they see you having your phone out, you will get like yelled at by the bartender. So I love that comparison though to like smoking areas. I think that's so spot on. Okay, cool. So our next topic, this is a fun marketing moment that happened this week. Shout out to Bree on the Hinge team for flagging this to us. So Hinge has their annual No Ordinary Love campaign that they do every year, where they share user love stories that have started on the platform. And typically they've done this in long form writing on their Substack. But this year, in an effort to meet Gen Z where they're at, they've decided to release audiobooks of this year's love stories. So it's on Spotify and Libby, which is like a platform where you can borrow books digitally from your local library. And I love this. I think this is like so fun. I'm subscribed to their Substack just because I'm like, oh, it's a cool brand that's on the platform. I should be paying attention to what they're doing. But like, I don't know. I haven't read really. I've skimmed, but I haven't like actually read anything yet. And I feel like I will actually listen to the audiobooks in this year's campaign.
Yeah, I think we wrote about this a while back. I think it was last Valentine's Day. We wrote about like the different dating apps, and I remember noticing that what Hinge was doing with their kind of brand campaign and their positioning was what has been lost with online dating is the meet cute. So that's such a core thing about like a couple's love story. So they've kind of been like, that's not your love story, and then kind of created a different like container for people to tell their love story that doesn't revolve around a meet cute. And I think this is a really smart evolution that is hitting on a lot of trends that are popular right now, like romance, audiobooks, and the likes of it. I haven't listened to them, so I can't give like whether or not it was well executed, but I think the strategy is definitely there.
It's interesting that narrators are Hunter Harris, who is a big Substacker, and then
Yeah.
other one, Rufy Thorpe, who wrote Margot's Got Money Troubles, which I just read for my book club. So I think they picked like cool, and Margot's Got Money Troubles is such like a Gen Z coming of age story. So I thought it was really interesting. I'm super curious to see like after it's been out for a while, like they probably won't release, but like how many people tune in to it. And another thing that's really cool about Hinge is like they're still not active on any of the traditional social media platforms. Like they don't post on Instagram. They have a TikTok, but it's completely blank. Like they're not anywhere except Substack and now Spotify and Libby, which I think is very fun.
It's
I,
interesting.
I'm obsessed with a thoughtful like digital
Mhm.
social media like approach. And I think more brands should be selective over which platforms they go on and then how they show up in those spaces. I think this whole thing is so cool. Like 100%. I mean, and like to really build, I mean, if you're stepping back for a second and you're thinking about it from this is like my obsession too. Like I keep doing this on all my client calls lately, but um really stepping back and looking critically at like both your target audience, like who are you going for, and then communities and of people that are on a given platform and who do you want to build equity with. And like if I'm thinking about Hinge, you know, Substack is such an interesting place. Like, obviously, it's marketed as we've talked about as it's like intellectual platform, and like I do think it is sort of a bit of an evolution or like a higher, like more in depth because it's long form, but like a more in depth like version of what Twitter used to be. I think it's culturally relevant. It's also a little slower, which I love. Like it doesn't feel like it feels very like again, I mean, it's not perfect, we know, and I've seen some even more recent interesting headlines, but I do think that if I were to think about like a sub brand of Hinge where you are sort of telling love stories or you're like storytelling out of like the product essentially. I think this is such a cool thing to do. And I think to then evolve it to audio 100%. If we think about larger culture and like moves toward audiobook and audio consumption, also audio is reaching more people because you're hopefully tapping them in different spaces. They're not just staring at their phone, they're commuting and all of that. Um, Also Hinge, like these are people, I don't know, and I haven't looked at like the analytics of, people who are on Substack, but I'm sure that they are, doing well socioeconomically, like they're largely like employed or are self-starters who are able to like run their own newsletters, right? Like there's definitely like I think it's a very thoughtful way to go about this. I mean, I could even see this going like continuing to go depending on I'm sure it's like sort of a experiment our way in. But like you could even see them, publishing books too, right? Like you can build out the community so it's really, like again, robust, it's active, it's people are really into it and then, maybe people will they'll publish their own books and move it's like again a whole separate way to like evolve Hinge, but also at the end of the day too if you're stepping back 360 and you're looking at it you're like well it just validates this tech business that we're running. It's like here's proof of concept. It's look at how it works, you know what I mean? So I just think it's really cool. It's a great little headline driver for them. Super smart. Congrats Hinge, and I can't wait personally to listen and check it out.
Yeah. And a question, Melissa, you brought up in our pre-call that we have to prep for this. You asked if there is a demand for romance content right now because you're seeing so much horror in popular
Our
media right
favorite
now. My favorite topic always. And my take as a Gen Z single Hinge's target audience, I think IRL feels so zapped of romance for a lot of singles out there. Like people don't approach in person as much as they used to. So I feel like there's a demand for romance content because so many people aren't getting it in their actual lives. So I think a lot of people, I would imagine, look at these Hinge no ordinary love stories as like, oh, there's hope for me to like find romance on these dating apps, which are so algorithmic and formulaic and feel like a chore and not like finding the love of my life. Um, but it is interesting that I feel like it is like romance and horror are like the two like driving genres right now, which seem very opposite, but maybe not so much. And
My one thing on this would be I do think that the larger issue with the dating scene right now, though, is like that women are the ones who are burnt out and exhausted, and men, like, we talk about the male loneliness epidemic and all of that. And I feel like this campaign is going to go super well with women, right? But it also like sets an expectation that I'm like, is this expectation going to be met on the platform? And I think that's where the issue comes in because I think you're going to, if this is going to work, you're going to hit the romance community who still believes in love and they're going to be like, I should give Hinge another try. And then their experience is just going to be so vastly different from what they're hearing in these audiobooks. And so I think, like I said, great strategy, execution, because where it's dependent on heterosexual men is not going to live up to this 9 times out of 10. And so I would love to see, as well as like these great campaigns targeted towards women, like what are they doing to make the male dating pool live up to these stories and narratives that they're telling? Because I think that the apps have led to the enshittification of men. So I do think that they have a little bit of responsibility to kind of like, if they want women to continue using these platforms, to also put effort into like fixing like
You know what?
the male
I was
population.
I was gonna say, this is reminding me of a conversation that we've had. I want to say maybe it was last week or maybe it was Tuesday. I don't know. But about this idea of teaching Gen Z, right? Like this idea of like, and to that point, if I were Hinge and I was thinking about my digital and social strategy and taking what you're saying into consideration, Megan, to me, that almost feels like, how do we sort of dovetail this effort into like a TikTok strategy of like, it's almost like how do you turn this into like video content in some way that then is essentially like, it's what is it called? It's like success stories of like how to and putting it out on short form video. Like to me, that feels like if I were to like think about, again, not every platform, but I think like TikTok is like straight to the Gen Z, straight to the Gen Zers, right? And not to do it in a cringy way. Like I don't think it's about that, but I think it's really just the house. I think that to me, especially when I feel like it's a little bit of like the how are people meeting each other and how is this happening in our real world right now, and maybe leaning into that of like, and this is how it worked out and it really was a fairy tale, and like this is, so that's sort of like my gut reaction on it. Like this feels like a really smart, cool content storytelling play we're seeing them in real time evolve it, right? It's gone from a Substack, now we're going to hear it. What comes after that,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people react. But yeah, based on the article, their Substack is thriving. So I just think it's very fun for a brand to put all their eggs in like the long form writing and like storytelling basket on social. It's very fun. I also think it's smart because people are burned out from dating and the last thing they want is probably to see like Hinge dating app content. So this is like for the people who are specifically seeking them out, which I think is very smart. But yeah, well, thank you guys so much for a fun convo as always. And we will post this tomorrow and be back on live next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank
friend.
you. Bye.